Welcome back to Point of View. We're here discussing should housewives be paid. We're joined by our special guest, Shannon Hume, who is a housewife and mother. Thank you, Shannon, for joining us.
Of course.
Sure. Okay, so first question, we're all, well, I don't know. Everyone says housewives should be paid. I'm kind of on the bubble there. But who would pay the housewife?
Well, I don't know who's going to pay us.
Uh-huh.
Ideally, it would be great if we could get paid to supplement the income that we aren't making being at home.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to work, you send your kids to daycare. Who's raising your kids then?
Mm-hmm.
Daycare.
Right.
You come home, you feed them dinner, you bathe them, and you put them to bed, and you get up and do it all over tomorrow to, at the end of the week, pay all your money that you've pretty much worked hard for to daycare.
Mm-hmm.
So you make a choice to either stay home and raise your kids or send them to daycare and pay daycare to do what's the point of working?
Right. Now, do you think housewives should be paid, though?
It's kind of a yes and no.
Uh-huh. Do tell.
Well, if we were paid, I don't know who's going to pay us.
Right.
Because there's really no income for us to be paid. We're already in debt in this country. And my husband can't pay me.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't make enough to pay all of our bills in some cases. So he is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, you are making a sacrifice to be the one to be home with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be home to be with my kids.
Right. That's what I was thinking too, right? It's kind of voluntary. You want to stay home with your kids.
Right.
So I don't know where some women are kind of thinking, oh, well, now pay me.
Right.
I think it's voluntary. You wanted that. So.
Right.
But if your husband's making millions.
Well, if he's making millions, then yes, you will pay me.
Give me some.
60%. You will pay.
Yeah.
60%?
60.
Yeah, that's what I'm
this
thinking.
lady. How long have you been a housewife?
4 years, 4.5 years.
And how many children do you have?
One.
At the moment, you
At
got
the
one.
moment, one.
And 4.5 years. Wow. Doesn't it? Don't you go crazy sometimes?
Yes. And I remember her saying that she got bored. And you kind of do, as they get a little older, right before they start school, they don't need to have as much done for them. You're teaching them more to be along the lines of self-sufficient, to take care of their own needs. So you do get a little bored sometimes. But other than that, I mean, if we had the income, then we wouldn't be so bored. We could go out. We could do things.
Right.
You know, you could take your kid on a play date to some special place once a week or something, but you know, the income doesn't say that we can do that. So.
So does it make for a better family dynamic if the mother stays home and takes care of the children?
I think so, because if you're home with your kids are going to be learning what you want them to learn rather than what a daycare person or
The curriculum at the daycare.
Yeah. And in most daycares, they don't have a curriculum. It is more along the lines of they're just there to make a paycheck, and they don't care for your kids as much as you do in most cases. If you're lucky and you have an in-home daycare that's maybe a family friend, then you know that maybe your kid's being taken care of by a loved person who is very loving to your child, who does care about your child.
Okay.
But in the daycare, at the end of the day, you know, who had your kid? Was it you? Were you putting into them what you wanted into them? Did you get to teach your child that the words that are coming out of their mouths are not nice words? The words that they're coming home and saying. Where in my house, there's no words that are negative that he should be hearing. If he were in daycare, just like when he goes to school, he's going to be having the same problem. He's going to come home saying things that are being said in other homes that these kids come to school saying.
Okay.
I was wondering, as a housewife or a mother being at home, do you ever yearn to be able to do those things with your child? Because you said you don't know who is going to pay you. And due to the fact you said your husband can't do it, did you ever think in terms of either supplementing or going to him and say, listen, you know, I need some extra because we're stuck at home and we need to do this and this is our child, and, you know, do you ever talk about those things?
Well, I do control the finances in our house.
Yes.
Because of the fact that my husband he works 12 hours a day. He doesn't have the luxury to be able to go and do those things with our son that he might want to do. And going to him and telling him I need more money, that's not going to work. He doesn't get an allowance. So why is he going to give me an allowance? And usually, like if we have extra money, that paycheck or something, and I have lunch out, I do the best to make sure that maybe he got something special that week himself. But he himself is not going to be able to give me that allowance, and we just make do with what we've got. And I mean, that's pretty much it.
Right. Well, you are very.
Well,
nice
that's along the
housewife.
lines of what Erica was fighting, but at least
Right.
she gives him, it's his money, and she still gives him an allowance.
That's so sweet.
And gives him. So I thought that's
Yeah.
really nice of that
Right.
fact, because I know how sometimes you can get bored and you can want more, but I think it's good that you're saying that you're basically content with what you're doing and with the job that you're doing because you have control.
Well, because
you know,
of the love
your,
for your
children,
Right.
yeah,
your family.
your son.
Right.
See, that whole thing. But so here's my question, playing. Just wondering, if we pay housewives, say if it was government funded or there was actually a paycheck, you sign up, whatever the deal may be, should we then pay janitors for cleaning their homes? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's your
Right.
job. Now you're cleaning what's yours. I mean, what do you
Right.
get, an extra paycheck for that too?
Well, maybe there'd be a supplemental income with the husband's job. Maybe for families who are married and you have kids, maybe the husband would make 10% more at his job because he had a family to support.
That'd be crazy.
I know.
I'd be a man just to get that extra 10%.
You mean you'll just go
I'll
and
just
have
straight
children
up-
for that?
I'm a man, give me my extra 10%.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But 10% isn't going to pay for everything you need for your
No.
kid,
No.
so in a sense it's not really worth
It'll
it.
be like a little something.
Right.
Little something extra. I'm all about the something extra.
Yeah. Even if they just, something to help with the food or the cost of the daycare if I had to go to work or something.
Kind of what Germany's doing.
Right.
Anyway, my question to you is, you've got a lot of friends that work full time.
Yes.
Do you feel that they, by any way, look down upon you? Or do you feel that your husband doesn't truly appreciate you for what you do at home?
My husband definitely appreciates what I do at home. He's understanding at the moment we are pregnant, and the lack of energy there, things don't get done sometimes. And he is very helpful. He very much appreciates everything that I do. That even on times that he doesn't want to help, he will go in. He will do the dishes or help with the laundry or whatever needs to be done. As far as feeling looked down upon on my friends, I don't really feel that I'm looked down upon. Maybe they think that, I chose to stay home and so I'm broke because of that. But at the same time, I am the one who is home with my kids, and being able to be with my kids is more important than having a career. Because I can choose to either be with my career and that will be what I do, or I can be with my kids. And I think my kids are going to be, more loving. They're going to be more obedient. They're going to learn the things that I need them to learn, as opposed to I see them 1 hour at night
Right.
and put them to bed, and they're only little for so long, and then they're going to school. Once they go to school, I've got 8 hours. Now I can find a job. But up until they go to school, which is 5 years old, and if your kid meets the September 1st deadline, then they're 6 if they didn't get that. So you've got an extra year to be home with your kids. But in the end, it's worth it, and it's a struggle, but it's worth the struggle to me.
Right. Oh, you make me want to pay my dad.
No, you
I'm
don't.
thinking
No,
about
you
it.
don't at
I'm
all.
thinking
Go
about
ahead,
it.
Z. No, you don't.
Well, my question
do
is,
that.
because this was my one objective, is if we started paying mothers for staying at home or housewives, now would the little girls who are growing up who may have wanted to be maybe a doctor or a nurse or a teacher, would that in the back of their heads say, well, you know what, I would rather stay at home and take care of my children versus, being something else?
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I don't think that they should feel like that. They wanted to do that. They're doing something good. They're helping people who are sick or whatever the case may be, because they're a doctor. And it is a sacrifice they chose as well. They choose to either be a doctor or to be home with their kids. And I'm sure that in most cases they would like to be home with their kids. They would like to be with their family and to have that time, because you can't get it back once it's gone. And it's a difficult situation to choose. If housewives were paid to be home with their families, then who would work?
That's one we never thought of.
Who would be the doctor? Who would be the cook at the restaurant that you went and ordered? Would it only be men?
That's a very good.
So,
We didn't
I
even think
guess
about that.
it depends on how much the government pays.
Right. Yeah, we still have that question.
Well, when you were saying that, I was thinking about it. I had a couple who came from Nigeria and stayed with me. The government does pay their housing he's a broker and she works for a big insurance company. The government does pay their housing.
In
They don't have to
Nigeria
worry
or
in
here?
Nigeria.
Okay.
They don't have to worry about that, and they have a big home. So her company pays housing. His company pays insurance. Their money is theirs. Utilities are very little. So the thing of it is that there's got to be a way that we can all do it, but she's not being a housewife at home. That's the difference. I think it's just like you're saying. I think that's a really good point you made in reference to who would be out there working. But I think that what Z was saying too, like with the little girls, that's a good thing to incorporate.
Right.
Because as a mother, if you have a daughter and you're at home, how do you explain to her it's okay for you to do it when they've watched you for years do the same thing, and perhaps your maybe was your family thing. Your family stayed home and they were housewives. And so my question then was, do you really feel that you're worth more than just the title of housewife? Because if you had a girl, how would you explain that? We're more than that. Or what would you actually tell her to encourage her to go out into the field of medicine or just whatever it was?
I don't know what I would say to her at the moment. I have a 4-year-old boy.
Just for him. He may have a wife and may say, well, my mom stayed home with me, so.
You need to stay home with our kids.
Yeah.
It would depend. Does their finances say that they can put the child into daycare? Is it worth her going to work? If at the end of the month you've paid daycare $800 and you're bringing home $200, is that $200 really worth all the time you lost with your kid? I don't think so. Maybe you can cut your cable. Maybe you can cut off your internet. Maybe you can, downgrade the cell phone.
Your cell phone plan.
Your plan of your cell phone or whatnot. So I think that there's, that's where we are. We sacrifice with TV. We sacrifice internet. We sacrifice in our cell phones. We don't have everything that we want. But it's a sacrifice that you should make. Now, to encourage them to go out, if they're both having careers, maybe the wife or whomever makes more would be the full-time worker, and whoever's the lesser pay, maybe they work part-time. That way they can spend more time with their kids.
Okay, so we're not, I could never do it, but it sounds like a good plan. But we understand the contribution that housewives and mothers make to society. Being home with your children, being able to raise your children your way, it's great.
Right.
Do you really think, though, that housewives want to be paid, or are we just talking in circles? Is the consensus out there that housewives are saying, yes, I want a paycheck?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone wants a paycheck. Most people want a paycheck for doing nothing. So
I've heard that.
I'm pretty sure that they want a paycheck for taking care of their family. But in the same sense, when you go to work, you come home, you still cook, you still get the laundry done, you still get your kids' lunch packed, you still send them off to school, you still do everything that you're already doing.
Right.
But the idea is that you're losing money to daycare if you put your kids in daycare. So you want to stay home so that you can keep all that money.
Right.
But you're back to the same question: who's going to pay you? So.
Well, I'm curious. Is the reason that you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom because that's what your mom was? And then on the other side as well, my other question was, do you think that a few generations from now, stay-at-home moms would still be possible?
My mom was not a stay-at-home mother. I think she was maybe when we were very little, but nothing that I remember. I remember her working. And a few generations from now, probably not. We're already struggling to make ends meet, to pay bills, to put food on the table. So I don't see that stay-at-home moms will be possible in 2 generations. It's already almost not possible.
So unless there's some intervention, we're going to lose that.
Right.
That's awful. Well, thank you, Shannon, for
You're
joining
welcome.
us and giving us some insight. You guys stay tuned. Z is talking to you next. She's got the email back. This is Point of View.